This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com. This show is brought to you by IndyWrestling.us. Check out IWC, RWA, and more. And listeners like you, support this show at patreon.com/Wrestling Mayhem Show.
Hungry as fuck, but I ain't starving yet. Chain for the pain, cocktail dog set. Never said I was a gangster or thug, but I'm an animal. Feeding for the taste of the fly.
Hey guys, it is the Indy Mayhem Show. I'm Mike Sorg at Sorgatron on the Twitter here in the Sorgatron Media Studios in Pittsburgh, PA. And this is the show where we talk about people in and around independent professional wrestling. And today that includes one of my colleagues here around Sorgatron Media Sidekick Media Services. And we'll get to that in a moment. But first, please go check out everything at IndyWrestling.us and WrestlingMayhemShow.com. The first is where you're going to find a lot of this past episodes of this podcast, as well as a lot of stuff with people that we talk about and talk to on the show, and the action there at IndyWrestling.us on digital download, and over at IndyWrestling.network on our streaming system that you can see everywhere on Roku and every platform you can possibly think of, I think. It's a lot of places. It's a lot of places, and we're trying to get it to more. But anyways, in a Wrestling Mayhem Show, where you can find this and other great pro wrestling podcasts, you can drop us a line at goodtimes@WrestlingMayhemShow.com and 412-206-WMS0. If you have a topic for us to talk about, for a roundtable or what we're doing today around social media, or somebody we should talk to, please hit us up on any of those lines of communication, or of course Mayhem Show on the Twitter or anywhere else. And we're definitely looking to expand down, make sure we get everybody covered. You know, we can only watch so much pro wrestling, and man, are we we're being put to the test more and more with this every day. My guest this week is friend of the show, friend of the network, friend. Katie Dudders is with us today.
Hi, everyone. Dudders. Call me Dudders.
Who are you today?
Who am I? I ask myself that every
Katie
morning.
Dudders.
What day is it?
So I having some scheduling issues because of some other stuff going on in our professional world here. And Katie came to me and said, "Hey, let's talk about social media. It's kind of what we do, especially her." And first of all, for those that don't know, they don't see it to shows or anything. I know you're talking with a lot of pro wrestlers these days. Why the heck are we talking to you about this?
Oh, gosh. So my grown-up job, my full-time job is I'm director of sales and marketing at the Scare House. I also work with...
Which sounds great for a grown-up job.
Yeah, my grown-up job is. My full-time job is. I also, on the side, I do a lot of work with different niche marketing. I work with museums, axe throwing, podcasts. Yeah.
Again, grown-up jobs.
Grown-up jobs. So it's that's my kind of specialty, is working with different individual clients who are not necessarily your big corporate things, but people trying to find their voices in these very independent levels.
And we were talking about a little before, kind of a realization, this working around and with some pro wrestlers has kind of circled you back to one of your original things that you were getting into.
Yes. So a lot of people I don't think know my educational background. My first master's degree is in sport management. I want
to mark there first master's degree. First. I'm lucky I got out alive with a BA.
I'm showing off. Look at me go. But I've always been involved with sports. I guess tall people, you do sports, but I've always had an interest or a passion for sports. And I was in a point in my life where there was a gap between when I graduated my undergrad and then I went to grad school. And it just so happened that my dad was an alum of Slippery Rock University, and they started a master's program for sport management. And it was just like, this is a thing. I want to do this. I started to fall like really in love with sports and what it did for people and how it brought people together, and just kind of it had this amazing power to just do so many things with sports and to reach so many people. So I was like, I really wanted to schedule or kind of study it. And whenever you do it, studying academically, it's sport management versus sports management, because you're looking at it from a variety of different angles. Like my classwork was in financing, law, marketing and sales. It was a whole gambit of things. So it was interesting after graduation trying to find a job when you have a master's degree in sport management, because people think that you just kind of like, you talked about basketball. I'm like, no, it was a little bit more than that. And then, so while I was at Slippery Rock, one of the marketing classes, this is kind of, this is going to age me or date me a little bit here, but social media wasn't what it is now. And I started following, her name is I'm gonna blank out her, Amy Martin. She was somebody who worked with the Phoenix Suns, and she was one of the first kind of people to give a voice to a professional sports team. So this professional sports team, Phoenix Suns, was connecting with their customers in a way, and their fans in a way that no one had seen before. They had given like a personality to a sports team, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And then this how social media was able to connect you with sports and your favorite team or your favorite players because it humanized them. And I just that's where my passion for social media, and especially in like those niche markets, kind of fell.
And we've seen that, WWE obviously, was very famous to kind of say, hey, each wrestler is a brand. And this is, something that we say all the time when we're talking to wrestlers on the indies that are still figuring this thing out, is like, hey, you are a brand. You have to protect that, as much in the ring as out on all the platforms.
Yeah, and I love what the WWE does. I love what they do with social media. I love their connection with their fans. I lucky enough to also have a job where I work at the arena part-time. All my other 15 jobs, that I get to see the effect that the WWE has on their fans, adults, kids. It doesn't matter. It's you come into this world, you go to the arena, and you're just like, you're in it. It's not something where you're watching. You're part of this. You are booing. You are cheering. You are passionate.
And it is so interesting because we talk about so much on other parts of other shows about it is like, there's a sports management thing, and then there's like theater character, social media, but then there's this like weird thing that happens with wrestling, as you guys know out there, or the wrestlers out there, where like they're the wrestlers, but they communicate and interact with people real, but they're still the wrestler when they're not on the stage that is in the ring, which is where the theater usually ends in most cases. So there's this weird, like, the handbook is kind of still being written on this, and it depends on what kind of character you are, things going on, and we talk a lot about this, like with each other and with the guys out there and girls out there.
Oh yeah, and like you hit the nail on the head. You are a brand, and you are constantly representing this brand. No matter what you're doing, when you are this character, you are representing your own brand.
So we have a little bit. You kind of have a list of things to talk about here. So I want to get into it here because we only have a certain amount of time today. What do you want to touch on first here?
Okay, so let's start with one of the big things, and this is, I'm just going to kind of go over things that I'm seeing and maybe suggestions. Like this is when we talk about social media and professional wrestling, this is not gospel. This is not for everybody. This is, you might just be like, no, I'm not willing to commit to this with my character, and that's totally
or
fine.
it may not work for your character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not something, and then if we, we're going to talk about things that we think doesn't work or what you shouldn't be doing. And if you feel personally attacked, well, you should. But but we'll point out some things. Like I want to go over some things that like we're seeing and like some of the what we're seeing as far as like what's working. But yeah, like something I think one of the biggest things that I don't think people think about is if you want to do this, if you go big, how will that impact your social media? A great example of that is Facebook. And a person in particular, I'm going to pull up Sean Phoenix, he had a regular person Facebook page. And
as Sean Phoenix.
Okay. And then everything blew up. And then suddenly he's got a limit at 5,000 friends. What do you do? So then he had to create an athlete page and then move everybody over there. So if you're going to do this, just dive all in with, first of all, your athlete page and then your personal page. Plus, you're not putting yourself out there in personal information because people will find you. People will find your family. People will find your friends. They will track you down with Facebook. And even if you try to hide things, if they want to find it, they'll find it. But you want to make it kind of a challenge, I think, to kind of protect you. And then your personal opinions.
Absolutely. Some have been amazing to kind of separate, like, there are some wrestlers that manage their personal page under their name so well. I didn't know what I still don't know what some people's real names are that we work with and have worked with several years, or that their sister, family members and everything like that are so well protected. So it is like, hey, this is the world. Like, you're able to create these interesting bubbles, just like you walk into an arena, bingo hall, gymnasium, whatever, and then you walk into that world where you are X, like, you can create these kind of social bubbles online as well.
And I think people forget about that. They think that they have to put everything out there, and then you can protect those personal parts of yourself that you don't want to put out there. And then like we talked about before, it's also what you put out there as your character versus what you're putting out there as your personal views. You can have personal views if you're willing. If it fits your character, go for it.
Mhm.
But I mean, don't. But if you're just putting things out there to just stir up the pot, don't. I
Yeah.
think that's one of the things is like people try to be quote unquote controversial.
Yeah, and you can make that decision, but you gotta go all in. You
Yeah.
gotta own up. There is a fellow that we followed here locally by the name of Justin Kanaki. You may like his readings if you go look him up. But storyteller works on that kind of stuff. And at one point he was doing a social media talk, and he was very frank about things, and but the difference was if he was to get called out by a client that looked at his thing, he would own up to it. He may would put some tweets out there and bury it a little bit on Twitter where you could do something like that, but he was just like, yeah, it's a thing I said, you know. So don't put anything out that you can't back up, if you are going to go that direction.
Oh, and don't be a butt. I think that's like one of the number one social media rules is don't be a butt. Don't say things to be a jerk. Don't be a sexist, racist,
Yes.
Out there, because it's not, it doesn't get, let's start throwing out, this is not, don't do it for heat. It's not a thing you do. You're just looking like an asshat when you're out there doing that.
Right. And some people may throw out things there. Well, this is okay to do in expat or in this, country or whatever. But remember, you're not just in, Kentucky or wherever where this works, or wherever that might be, or this town or whatever.
Yeah, because depending on what territory you end up in, depending on the promoter, you want to kind of keep yourself open to a lot of different promotions and not just kind of pigeonhole yourself.
If I can add something in there, because somebody else had a conversation about this too. I think somebody in a position mentioned something to them. Remember, hey, if your goal, which a lot of you guys are there, I want to be on Monday night. I want to be on, in New Japan. I want to be, in one of these 3-letter companies, right? On television, somewhere higher than you are, or even the promotion that you're going to. They look at this stuff. And if you're like, why am I not getting a call up? Why am I not, I'm in the system. Why am I getting an invite to the performance center or whatever the case may be? It could be something you said. And, it is, with people are working with this with business a lot, on several levels, your Facebook page is part of your job interview. Yep.
Oh, I know. It's interesting when we're hiring people, we will look at your social media because that's we are hiring you. You are representing our brand. You are hiring yourself to represent your brand. You have to keep that in mind. And I think a lot of people think that they can say things, go back, delete it, and it's gone forever.
Yeah.
Screenshots live forever. Ask anybody who's been in any sort of like social media.
And there's a little thing called archive.org out there too.
There's all kinds. It doesn't delete it. So just. I a lot of times when I suggest, especially with clients, is if you're not sure, take a breath, think about it, then post it. If you still feel good about it, or if you still feel, because it's sometimes just taking that second. And there's even been times I've posted things and I'm like, ooh, should I say this? Am I being a jerk if I say this? And
if you could see my Twitter drafts,
yeah,
I'd be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. So definitely that's one thing. Something just very small I would suggest to wrestlers on your Facebook page, if you have an athlete page, maybe leave off your date of birth. Because I look at you, a promoter may look and go, oh, you were born in X year. I'm not so sure if.
That has happened. And actually, we know people that have are skewed a little bit older. Don't look at.
Yes.
Wait, I can think of several off the top of my head now. And yeah, then that can be a question mark.
So you want to take off those little things that are like kind of say things like I graduated in this high school in this year. No, don't put that in there.
Yeah.
But so that's like kind of Facebook. Something fun is you want to essentially use the social media platforms that fit your character. Your character might fit, and there's a few of the guys that we work with that I would suggest even things like LinkedIn, because you can do a company page on LinkedIn. Like for example, Lawless. Gavel David Lawless,
who is a lawyer in real life, and then portrays that as the character as well.
I think that would be hilarious to have a LinkedIn profile, because it's such like a corporate thing to have. Like, not even necessarily having to keep it up all the time, but just
Yeah.
like going, have you seen my LinkedIn page? Like, that's
Yes.
ridiculous.
Oh, that's amazing.
Mhm.
So it could be Lawless Murphy and Associates.
Yes, like just go all in with it. I mean, it's like, so you can be on these different sites, you don't have to necessarily pigeonhole yourself to the big three.
Oh, you can start doing like lawyer ads. Oh man, it's
Yeah,
promos.
uh-huh.
Oh man,
I know. Like, there's all these things, and like, there's essentially, if you become friends with us, there's a lot of points where I will just literally just slide into your DMs with social media advice, unsolicited. So it's pretty funny, but because I would just, this is. Social media to me is such a fun puzzle and trying to fit and there's so many opportunities for people to be unique in their own ways. And I think that's also so super important with social media is you don't necessarily have to stick within your industry for inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
Go beyond your industry, see what other people are doing that you find interesting. What makes them interesting? How can you incorporate that into what you're doing?
And some people we say we talked about the lawyer thing. Mm-hmm. We can do lawyer things. We know Dr. Dan. He's doing this kind of the guru thing, right? So it's like, well, what are gurus are doing online for things? You can create a fake website. You can do something like that. Speaking of websites, I think we should mention websites are a thing you should still consider these days.
Yes,
maybe not quite as vital as being on Facebook socially, but there's a reason you need a website.
So a couple, we'll call out a couple things that I like to see on social media. Jackson Argus just got a website. Which
I'm looking it up.
Makes me so happy. Jackson Argus is definitely one of my favorite people on social media because of his commitment and because of the things he's doing. It's just so ridiculous, but it fits his character and it's so good. But he now has a website. So instead of, for example, if I'm trying to push myself and I've got content on Facebook, I've got content on Twitter, I've got content over here on YouTube that I want promoters to see, you just keep that all on your website. It's like a resume. It's literally handing someone a digital resume and saying, here's all the cool things I'm doing on one sheet.
Wow.
Isn't it cool?
And it's so nice because as, we literally say this to our clients in many spaces. Like, you need to have a .com. You need to have a home base because Facebook could go away tomorrow. YouTube could go away tomorrow. Who knows? There's a lot of weird news out there. I also love that he has the social media and the reset button is there, which is a thing that's going on in IWC right now. But, or hey, some of my people I work with, they post everything on Facebook, but this promotion over Ohio maybe post everything on YouTube. So now you can put all those things in there, and it's the stuff you can put your best stuff up front. You can integrate your social media, whatever that is, as you change as well. And wow, this is really great. Good on you, Jackson Argos out there. No matter how much you yell at me when you're here in studio.
But yeah, I love it. It's great, and he's even got his T-shirts on there. I mean, he's pushing his own merch on here. Everything's on here, and it's great. And it's like easy. It looks good on the eyes. Like, make sure you're doing something that's pleasing.
And it doesn't need a whole lot of maintenance, especially if you integrate it right. And on that, if you're like, well, a website seems really kind of hard to do, go look at Squarespace.com. Go look at WordPress.com. And we can talk about that's a little bit of money. I mean, a conversation like we just had with Katie Arquette last week. Invest in yourself. Yeah,
and speaking of which, I'm gonna. Main Event. Main Event is another one.
Event.
I love their blog.
What's their domain again?
Aha. What's the Main Event? Well, I think it's the Main Event. I know it's got WordPress in it still because they haven't bought the URL, which I'm going to kick them for.
If you need help connecting that, give me a call.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely if you have questions
about
that.
It's not the Main Event. By the way, here's where the brand.
Oh, I don't even want to know where that goes.
You want to know where the Main Event WordPress.com goes to? Is not. I don't know what is happening here. That is definitely not the Main Event I know. That is not very litty.
No, well, it's a different kind of litty.
Anyways.
Yeah, so we'll find there. I should have marked that one, but I didn't. But yeah, so they're another one. They do a blog, and I like their blogs, and they're doing videos, a lot more videos. This is more of like, here's where we're at. They did a great one when they were in New York and New Jersey. Like, here's the thing we're doing. This is kind of, and it's, video editing is not as hard as it used to be. You can do a lot of this on your phone now. Like your phone can be your best friend at this point, and you can run essentially your brand, your business from here.
I will qualify that I am a video professional.
Yes.
Some of you have seen the cameras in here and see what I use on the shoots. And while I'm not going to shoot an entire 2-hour IWC show on it, but there are definitely things while I'm on client shoots with that big $3,000 camera, there are still things that I want to do on my phone and edit on my phone as a rule. And especially since all of you guys are working in social media, you're right there.
Yeah. It's all right here. It's very neat. Very handy dandy. Woo,
If you have an iPhone, you have zero excuse. Android, you might have to dig a little bit more, but those tools are out there.
Yeah. And don't. Oh, so we're talking about posting across multiple platforms. That's a big thing. We want
were just talking about this.
So there's different ways, and a lot of people will default. Like one of the things you'll talk to people, and you need to be on Instagram, you need to be on Twitter, you need to be on Facebook, you need to be on YouTube. Then you're like, well, I want to put different content on there. Who is following you on Twitter? It might not be the same people following you on Facebook or Instagram. Keep that in the back of your mind. So don't feel bad about posting the same photo across all the big platforms or the same video.
And maybe immediately, if you're just starting off, don't worry about being everywhere either just yet. Start on one. When you feel comfortable, move to the next. But when you get there, you got to think about that cross posting, like we're getting to.
And a lot of people, if you don't know, Facebook owns Instagram. So when you're in Instagram, a lot of people will just click on that little, I'll post a picture and I'll send it to Facebook, which you can do, and you're going to send it to Twitter. Don't do that. Because what it looks like...
The Twitter part.
Yeah, don't do the Twitter part. The Facebook part is fine. The Tumblr part's fine. Because that'll all turn out very nicely.
Somebody who's somebody I can pull up that does that a lot.
Lawless.
Oh!
He's going to love us or hate us. I'm not sure which. But he's an example of, on Twitter, he will share his Instagram post. So it looks like a couple words, a bunch of hashtags, and a link to Instagram. There's no actual photo. Oh. And so I have to click on that link to get to the thing. Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Just a bunch of text.
Yeah.
Education and future lawyers of the world. And then maybe you'll find that there's a link in here and get that nice picture that I actually took of him signing autographs for a sweet little girl at Springdale's KSWA event.
Nobody knows he actually stole that notebook after that.
Yeah, they see that cow pen topper thing, and that is on his desk right next to the gavel right now.
But so there's a couple different ways that to do that, like to essentially, like, you're like, but I don't want to take the extra time. One of the ways I know that this is how I do it, because in Sorg, you'll explain your way.
There are multiple ways to do this,
depending on how much commitment you have to this.
Find one that works for you.
So I'm going to post something on Instagram, and I type up a nice thing. I post my picture. Before I post it, I'm going to select all and copy. So, and then I'm going to finish posting on Instagram. Then I'm going to hit Twitter, go into Twitter, and oh gosh, I'll attach the photo and hit paste. Ta-da! And the picture will be there, and it's the exact same text. And then you do.
I do. There's a wonderful site that does tons of different things for automation. It's called If This Then That, IFTTT.com. Just type in If This Then That. You will find this website. And what you'll do is you'll sign up for an account here. You'll attach your account. So you'll log into your Twitter account. You'll log into your Instagram account or whatever else you want to use. And it will actually generate a script. And you can find find the one that just says, reposting Instagram to Twitter in here. And it will take, whenever it notices, and it may not do this right away. Sometimes I'll see it like an hour or two later. So keep that in mind doing this. That's one of the caveats about doing it this way. And plus your text will be cut off if you go more than, the Twitter's characters and everything. Or if you had tons of hashtags or something like that, those will get cut off too. But it will actually take that image, repost it as a natural, in tweet image with all that text, and put that out on your Twitter account without you even thinking about it.
Like magic.
Isn't that amazing? You do that once and you're just like, man, I just have to worry about Instagram, and Twitter is covered, at least for those kinds of images. Obviously, you want to do some other stuff on Twitter that's a little more native. It can be a whole other discussion.
Yeah, Twitter is more of a conversation. Tweets live for about 20-some minutes because we all have the attention spans of gnats. It's very true. So if you say something and you're like, oh, nobody responded, don't feel bad about posting again later.
Keep posting.
Yeah, people eventually, and then once they start having a conversation with you, then talk back. And
you may start noticing the kinds of things you talk about that get a conversation. Then start doing more of that.
Magic. Oh, big thing. We talked about not killing your gimmick. I recently came across a wrestler whose video was very, very creepy. Lots of like, oh, this guy's badass, creepy dude. And
I don't think it's one of our local creepy dudes.
No. He's not a local creepy. Sorry. we have local creepy.
I think we call them spooky wrestlers when we talk to Matt Connor, the Reaper. I want to stress the Reaper.
But And then so I went over to his Twitter page, and the first pinned tweet is a very sweet proposal tweet, and it's like, it just kind of killed it for me. And I'd be excited about your significant other. That's great if it fits your character in a way that fits your character. Because there were some other tweets looking in the feed. There were other tweets that was like, this makes sense for the character. This makes sense for the character.
Right.
But like there were certain words that was like, oh,
Like, so you were like, I got, just she, my greatest, wonderful, beautiful woman, said yes, or something where you could say, something more creepy and darker and twisted version of that.
This is my badass lady.
My badass lady is connected to me by a chain forever or something. I don't know.
We're chained together forever. That's creepy. In my basement.
Have you?
Yeah.
Have you seen some of the wrestlers?
Yes, I've.
Did you go to Freaky Fair?
No, I missed out. That makes me sad.
It was good.
But it's very much just kind of keeping that in mind. And if you, I mean, it's cool if you want to put stuff out on your personal page and you're like that in real life. That's awesome. But it just like kind of just takes the wind out of my sails when I'm just like, oh man. And I appreciate creepy and weird, because creepy and weird and scary is hard. Like coming from I work for a professional haunted house. It's not, you think you can just throw stuff out there and it just happens. It's not. You have to, there's a lot of storytelling, and you have to think of yourself as a digital storyteller. I think that's one of the other things too, is you are telling your character's story online. And what you put out there is going to be what people think of your character. So that was the thing that happened recently. I was like, oh. And what else? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, yeah. Some things not to do. I don't feel like you have to go on social media and call out WWE, AEW, New Japan wrestlers. Like, look at me. I could take you. You're an idiot. You just look stupid.
Unless you're being very, 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 very clever about it.
Yes.
RJ City.
Oh, yes. He can get away with it.
Wonderful about it. Every time there is there's a rash of like, excited to talk about my exclusive contract with so and so, and then he'll turn the phrase with excited for my exclusive contract with anxiety or codependency or something, which has returned into merchandise. Like I know there's an NXT anxiety shirt that he just posted on Pro Wrestling Tees. Get that while you still can, because I'm sure there'll be a takedown notice. But
he's good at it.
He's amazing.
Not everybody can do that.
Also, somebody who works around media a lot. So I mean, he's kind of in that frame as well. But still, like if you want to look at like somebody that does a very interesting and on point and on character, I'd never see RJ City falter. But again, I think he's one of those good. The character is an extension of himself, so him being him is basically just him being him on those platforms.
That's one of the conversations I've had with wrestlers, is taking that part of yourself and just turning it up. It's there. Just kind of lean into it and just kind of let that part of your kick my mic. That part of yourself just out there, and don't be afraid to put it out there either. Oh, so another one of people doing interesting things on social media. PB Smooth, Pretty Boy Smooth, is on Instagram TV. And he's like one of the only people that I see on Instagram TV.
Yeah. Well, I still battle with what am I doing with Instagram TV. So it's good to see that somebody is embracing that platform.
Because he does his Monday vibes on there. So he's also doing his own. He's going to do 52 weeks of this, where he talks about specific topics and that are important to him or interesting to him. And so I think that's really cool too. Is kind of don't be afraid to like create your own niche, like just finding your own thing where you fit what you want to talk about, and that kind of stuff. So he was another one I wanted to make sure I mentioned.
And this is it is I think this is the same. I've seen this on Facebook as well. But he is doing the format to it. It is a new. He's embracing new platforms, which is nice to see. And especially if he's the only wrestler that you know on IGTV, and you're checking out IGTV and watching the WWE or AEW or whoever stuff, and then he's also the guy that pops up in you a fan's feed, that's now a new reason to pay attention to this guy that maybe you didn't before.
Speaking, I'm just going to go right into this. Merchandise. This is something else I kind of want to touch on a little bit. is being creative with your merchandise. We were just at KSWA, and Beastman came out carrying a weird bone. It was foamy and not as big and as intimidating. And I know there was a moment where I was like, what's he doing with that? And then he ended up giving it away to a kid in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And he was also selling them at his table. And I was like, that's perfect. Because one of his gimmick in particular is he comes out, he's a very large caveman, and he has a big bone that unfortunately the last one died, but he's got a new one. If you were in the other case, we've gotten to go to a couple KSW
I think he
shows.
might have broken a second one in the past month, from what I understand. I thought I heard that happened, but
Whoopsie.
yes. And these are like there's pictures of when he was in here threatening Larry on the couch with the bone.
Mm-hmm.
So context, but still, anyways.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah. But like being able to, like, I thought that was super cool that he found something connected to his character.
Mm-hmm.
Another one I'm going to go back to PB is PB has his own lip balm. It's this Pretty Boy Smooth lip balm. It's tropical flavored. It's very nice. But his gimmick is before he gets in the ring, he's putting it on and he's throwing it in the crowd. Mm-hmm. So it made sense for him as part of his thing to sell this lip balm.
Honestly, puts the cap back on because
yes.
I was filming it one time and I heard from behind me, ew!
Yeah, that's the other thing we'll offer you. You know, if we're friends, we will kind of give you those inside tips to cap your lip balm before you throw it in the ground.
Somebody in the second row didn't appreciate that one.
Ew. That was so funny. But yeah, so like finding what works, and because everybody's selling t-shirts, which I'm not saying anything against t-shirts because I love wrestler t-shirts and I love the creativity with wrestler t-shirts. But Main Event's another one that's good at this. They always have stickers at their table, and they have a variety of stickers. And stickers, you can get them. For example, we use Sticker Mule, and I turn a lot of people into Sticker Mule because Sticker Mule does a lot of discounts. Subscribe to their email list, follow them on social media. You can get 50 stickers with free shipping for $19 pretty regularly.
They should be a sponsor.
Yeah, I know. Hey, Sticker Mule, I love you.
They should be a sponsor to all of our wrestling shows.
It's like, here's a sticker. Ta-da!
Yeah.
Another one.
Good stuff. And I can't, it's tied in, but even on the back of my laptop is, you know, the Main Event line, Badger Tribe for Honey Badger. And this is a laptop that I take with me all over the country for work. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, that is, who knows what that gets on. Or you can be creative with it. This is not wrestling, but actually they're joining us later for a recording for Mayhem Show. Our friends at Thrifty Podcast. Mm-hmm. It's about thrift shopping, and they call, you know, hence the shirt that they call everybody roaches, and you know, and thrifting can get a little dirty, you know. But they said, you know, they give out stickers, and you can get stickers. They say, please put it in the dirtiest place you can find and take a picture of it for us. Nice. So, I mean, as again, you know, and maybe that works for your character, honestly, some of you out there, but that you know, that's something that fits, you know, in that. Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, it's cool because like I could take this sticker and then here's my water bottle, and then look, I have a PB Smooth water bottle. Like it turns anything into your promo merch.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a magic. And like I said, these are pretty inexpensive. A lot of times, and this goes across the board. This is not just for wrestlers, but events as a whole. People are looking for $1 and $2 items because they want to buy something to remember the day by.
Absolutely.
They like to go to things like, even if you have a $1 or, you know, a couple $. I know a lot of places do, like RWA does programs,
or they want to support you.
Yeah.
Recently, I was at a show. I had already spent a little bit of money on the promotions T-shirt in LA, and then I met Funny Bone.
Oh yeah,
the wrestler, and I'm just like, I gotta get something. And it was like, hey, how much are your shirts? And they're like $20, and I'm like, I have like 15. I'm like, okay, how about one of these scarves? You know, it has one of those like pullover things with the skull face on it, which I think it may be more generalized and not exactly a Funny Bone thing, but you know, but it's like, you know what? I love this match. I never seen him before. I want to support that wrestler.
Yes. And
I only have $10. I want to at least give you $10, you know, for whatever the hell you have offered out there. So,
I mean, because kids go with a couple bucks, and they like, and I've seen it where, you know, they walk up and they've got like, I've got $2. What can I buy? Because they want to get something. And even if this isn't particularly branded, like your skull mask, you're still going to look at it and go, oh, I remember I got this because of this in the story. And then it reminds you of that. And it's nice having those little reminders around. Remember a time that thing was cool? I did a cool thing. But it's like there's inexpensive ways to do that.
I still have a fabulous John McChesney like beer cozy like floating around the studio somewhere, and that is from like 12 years ago when I first met him.
That's amazing. But yeah, it's great. And you have these things. And then sometimes it's really fun when the wrestlers go big and you're like, I remember when I bought your this.
Yes, I remember when he had a cooler name than Eric.
Yes. Our buddy. Oh, that's so funny. But yeah.
At least he didn't get the Ivar one.
Oh, I know. Poor dude.
That's for a different podcast.
Yeah, we'll talk about that another day.
No, I'm not gonna poor dude somebody that's on Monday Night
Yeah.
Raw, no matter if we like his name or not, because I'm sure he's liking that check at the end of the month.
Yeah, no kidding.
So,
Be like, that's all right. That
like,
works.
still
Call
good
me
for
whatever
him.
you want.
Good for him. Good for him.
But yeah, I think that. I know there was a couple questions and I think I know Thomas from KSWA. Tom wanted us to mention putting the dates and times of your events.
Oh yes,
On your photo. You know, if you're putting it out there, if you're putting your poster out there for your upcoming event, put the dates and times. It sounds so silly.
I think you've probably seen this. I know a lot of people do this too, where they'll put a picture and they'll be like, "Here's where I'll be," and they'll say, even if it's just the letters of the company and the name of the company and the dates, and then like you can follow on beyond that. And of course, you'll be posting other stuff. But it's cool because if I follow Lady Frost, is somebody who does this, and if I follow Lady Frost, I'm a fan of Lady Frost, and maybe she doesn't come to middle of Indiana too often, and I see like, oh, that promotion, I know that promotion. That's someplace I can go to, right? And you just see that on there, and you can plan for that, and be like, I gotta make sure I go and see her if she's that somebody that you're going to seek out as a fan, and that helps a lot, and also it makes you look busy.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm wrestling all these places in the next month, right? It gives that perception, and it's that no matter what the situation is, no matter what you're doing to make the wrestling thing work, it makes you look like, hey, they're doing this every weekend. These people are for real. That makes it look good for fans. It makes it look good for other promoters, and just helps that perception a lot.
No, that's awesome. And like when this is just more of a marketing tip versus specific to just wrestling, is taking the time to put that information in your post. Like put the quick points on there, the who, the what, the where, the when, the how much. If you can get that information in the post so that they don't have to sit there and scan the poster for 5 minutes going, where is this place at? Because there's a lot of promotions will just put city, and it might not be a city you've heard of. So it might be like a city right across the border in Ohio, but I have no idea.
I have as I travel, I'm looking for indie shows, and Tennessee was really bad with this because I'd see a poster and they'll say such and such community center in Ohio, Texas, or I'm sorry, Tennessee, and I'm just like, all right, I guess I need to do some homework here and figure out if I'm going to the right place. You got to make that as easy as possible. Everything down to a zip code. Literally, if you don't put a zip code in for the address for our studio here, you end up across town. And who knows what wrestling fans that don't know an area, because you're in Indiana and Lady Frost is coming within a hour of your town. It's maybe a town you usually don't go to.
Yeah.
And whatever weird venue indie wrestling ends up. So
exactly. And think of yourself as a consumer. When you go to do something, how annoying is it that you have to take an additional step? Like we all feel that way about certain things. Like, oh man, I have to get in Google Maps. Where is this place? It's annoying. So don't make it easier on your fans and make it easier on, people trying to find you and book you.
We have a little bit of, I finally caught up with the chat here. We have a few people out there right now. Pop for the Justin Kanaki reference, and Toddy's in the chat room and just noticed the shirt. Some our awesome cast friends are very confused right now. So Podner is saying much anger with Instagram and Twitter for the integration not being great. That was a decision. It used to work. They made the decision. I believe it's Twitter's decision to make that not work. And people are just kind of checking in. Thanks a lot, guys.
Hi.
So
hi, friends. But yeah, it's very annoying when, especially, and then some of the issues, especially with like Facebook changing and a lot of the things that Facebook's been doing, and there will be a lot of changes with Facebook. There's a lot of coming from like the marketing side of things. You are going to see a bunch of changes with Facebook coming up here very soon. Groups are going to become very important. Events are very important.
Look for the next thing. We kind of come from an era back in our day.
Yes.
You were talking about early days of the Phoenix Suns and social media. Like we kind of saw everything rise in early days of PodCamp or whatever our ventures were at the time, right? And it was kind of okay, I don't know if I'm going to be on this platform in 6 months because there are so many new platforms, and we've kind of settled into Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, right? Like, remember when everybody was trying to make Google Plus work, and now that's like on some, I don't mean to poke at some people, but it's on some people's banners, and they're not going to make a new banner just because Google Plus isn't a thing anymore, right? But still, it's I've been, Katie, we've been having this discussion. I know in our one Slack channel, I was like, how do I TikTok? Why do I TikTok? Also, kind of, we had the same discussion about Snapchat too. But the main event are using the clips and GIFs that we've been making from the shows and making really interesting TikTok videos that I've seen on other platforms. But again, that uses the core, what TikTok is for, is this kind of video audio remixing kind of thing, culture. And they're completely applying to it, and they're kind of a persona that I think fits for that versus me. What am I going to do for my visual for it as a Sorg? So,
I want to see you in a TikTok video.
I'm not going to sing, okay? I'm not going to sing. Those days are by me.
But yeah, so I think a lot of that. I don't know. It's like, what's next? And like we say, it's like these platforms aren't going to be around forever. So finding out like what's the new thing, pay attention. I mean, if you have somebody who's like really cool and hip to the social media and what's coming out and what's next, keep an eye on their stuff. Maybe follow them on social, somewhere on social.
But also, and look at what the big guys are doing too. Look at WWE talent. Look at AEW talent. Look at Impact Wrestling talent. Those guys got there for a reason, and the social media has to be at least one ingredient in most cases for that. So see who's doing anything interesting and people you can relate to, and make things your own, of course, too.
Oh yeah, I think, and like this goes back to like the go outside your industry, see what other people are doing, and see what you like that they're doing, and then seeing if you can apply it to what you're doing. Magic.
Awesome. Any final tips going out there?
Don't be a butt. That's always my biggest thing is just don't be a butt on social media.
Don't be a butt on social media.
No one likes that. You don't like that. That's the thing, is like, if it annoys you, don't do it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, just take that, like, oh, I hate when people do this. I'm going to do this on social media. Don't do that. Drives me bonkers.
Yes. Keep it consistent. Keep it, think about I don't want to say like your gimmick. I don't want to say like separate gimmick or personal and whatever. I just want to say, think about how it looks to the outsider, right?
Is it on brand?
Yes. And remember, you are a business, you are a brand, you are a persona, and you're not going to see Scarehouse or Microsoft or IBM talk about their car breaking down and woe is me. Yeah. Right? So you need to think on a different level than just, I'm a person on Facebook. You can have you dot whatever and do that there, but maybe we'll figure out this person and this happens over here. But
just be consistent. Figure out your voice. Figure out who you are. Be authentic. I think that's another thing too, is like, don't force things.
You're already figuring this out for who you are in front of the camera, in front of people, and that translates.
Ta-da! Right across there. Easy peasy.
Awesome. Well, this was great, and of course, I'm sure there's kind of a general outline of things that you have said to people have taken some advice, some haven't, some are still trying to figure it out. And things that we've seen over, I mean, these are conversations we have all the time, over the car rides to shows that we're working with and everything. So if anybody, I'm trying to think, my phrasing almost got weird there. I was going to say, if anybody wants to slide into your DMs about social media specifically, okay, that's safe, I feel.
Yes.
Where can people do that safely?
Oh gosh, I'm all over the place. So I'm Katie Dudders on Facebook. I'm a different name. I'm everywhere. I'm Kate Marie PGH on Instagram. I do not fall. I'm the worst for following the rule.
Let's talk about your branding.
Oh, my branding is awful, and I don't have a problem with that. But that's another thing we probably should have mentioned, is being consistent with your name across social media platforms so people can find you. And just the fun, real quick thing about Twitter is that it starts the search from the first few letters of your name. So if your name is Oh gosh, who's a good example? Scarehouse was a good example of this. We were the Scarehouse on Twitter for a long time, and then we switched over to Scarehouse PGH because you're not typing in the to look for us. You're typing in Scare SCA, and we weren't coming up because it searches for those first few letters.
Yeah,
there, another hot tip.
There you go.
Or so Kate Marie PGH, or I'm K Dudders on Twitter.
And if somebody has your name already and is not doing anything with it, go ask Twitter about doing something about it. Sometimes they'll do something. We have several friends with the in front of their name because they're RC Dupree. There is another RC Dupree that's not doing anything with it. So please, Shirley Doe I think is another case as well. But I think he just doesn't care. It's pretty far in the game. He's just like, screw it.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Shirley Doe is a whole other thing, and he does this work too. So
yeah,
he gets it. In the deep dark dungeons of the Grindhouse. Just bring that back around.
Yes.
Anyways, on brand. Stay on brand.
Creepy.
All right. And of course, we work with the stuff as well. Katie with us over here at Sidekick Media Services and everything too. I've had great conversations with a lot of you guys about kind of interesting ways to use video GIFs and how that applies and how we work together with people on what we do on the IndyWrestling.us partners. So always, I have a lot of great conversations with you guys at shows in the Facebook messages as well in studio here. Please reach out. And so this is more for the wrestlers, but also just the general social media. And I'm curious, a lot of wrestling fans listen to, what do you like, don't like? Please let us know in the comments wherever you are finding this show, or even just over on the Mayhem Show and US Indie Wrestling Twitter. There's another one. I'm not good with the Twitter brand on that one. We need to see about fixing that too. So, and last, I'll just leave you with this last note from BC Steel. If I can bring the chat up.
Yes.
In this. Oh no, do you have it?
Yep.
I'm sorry.
All right, this is BC Steele's, which I think he stole from Joe Dombrowski, so I'm going to throw that out there, is nobody wants to pay to see the guy who hates his job and is down on his luck romantically.
That's right. Unless you're all about that character. But anyways, you say not BC Steele. BC
Steele is the most basic human on earth, and he embraces that.
There you go. There you go. So hope that helps out. Also, as kind of additional listening, Joe Dombrowski, I believe we had a conversation with him, talked a little bit about some of these things on a previous Indie Mayhem show for the latest one with his name on it. And we had him as a guest in the fall on Wrestling Mayhem show, where he just went to town on people that are not consistent with their character and just destroying storylines on Twitter. So he kind of had a little bit of a rant on one of the episodes. So go seek that out as well. It's in the archives. Maybe we'll throw some links in this so you can check those out. Thank you, Katie. Go follow Scarehouse of what's going on there. There's laser tag.
Yeah, we got laser tag. Pew, pew.
And also, for more along this line of discussions, you can also check out one of our network podcasts here. Awesome Cast. We talk about technology and social media a lot. And there's probably going to be Pornhub in recent episodes by the time you listen to this too, because that just seems to happen with the pairing of guests that we have lined up this week. But looking forward to that. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you guys next time. Until then, please support Indie Wrestling. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.